Hello, Mr. Warren. My name is Detective Harris. Now, as I understand it, you were brought into the police station about 2 hours ago, is that correct? Yes. Well, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, considering how early in the morning you were brought in. I hope you'll understand. Now, from what I've been told, you have asked to waive your rights to counsel. Is that correct? I see. And you wanted to speak with the lead detective here at the police station. Yes, sir. Well, that would be me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, I'm actually the lead detective for all of Morrison County. That's right, sir. Well, the truth is we don't usually get a lot of crime here in Morrison. Now, do you understand why you were pulled over? You don't? Okay. Mr. Warren, what is this? I mean, this does look awfully suspicious. Normally when we see something like this in a baggie, which is what the police officer spotted in your vehicle just before you returned to it from using the public restroom. I mean, you do have to admit this is rather suspicious. I will say, Mr. Warren, that this is a little bit different than most of the marijuana, weed, and controlled substances that we normally encounter in this county. Yes, the consistency is not quite what we're normally used to. Now, Mr. Warren, would you like to tell me about this substance? I mean, we could send it off to testing, but I really don't think that's necessary. Do you? Yes. The consistency just doesn't feel right, Mr. Warren. Oh, it's not a controlled substance. Well, what exactly is it? It's wood pulp. Now, Mr. Warren, I don't understand. Why would you be carrying around wood pulp in a baggie? Now, is this something that you planned on selling as an illegal substance? Maybe having a bit of fun at someone else's expense, make a little bit of money on the side? Mr. Warren, you agreed to speak with me. I would appreciate it if you were honest. Now, I can understand that times are hard right now. I can understand that completely. These are difficult times, and sometimes a respectable man such as yourself would want to perhaps supplement his income. But I must say, Mr. Warren, selling fake weed or a fake controlled substance when it's just wood pulp. I mean, that's not really a good idea. Yeah. That's not really a good idea at all. I mean, you could get charged with possession for distribution, even though this is fake. Now, are you sure this is fake? Well, I would like to take your word for it, Mr. Warren, but let me give it the old sniff test. Oh yes, that is definitely wood pulp. Now, why were you carrying this in a baggie? Oh, I see. This is Tinder. Not the app, obviously. This is Tinder for you to use for starting a campfire. I see. You bought this. You actually paid money for wood pulp. How much? Mr. Warren, I have to say you got taken for a ride. Yeah, this is wood pulp. I mean, honestly, that's not usually something people pay for around here. I guess it was nice of them to include a plastic baggie. And you paid how much for this much wood pulp? Oh, Mr. Warren, yeah, I definitely say you were cheated. Well, yeah. So that's why you were initially arrested. Oh no, we're not charging you with possession. Now, this was found in the trunk of your car. You claim that this was a brand new knife that you bought for camping. Now, Mr. Warren, I'm sorry, but that's a lie. You see, I'm very familiar with this particular knife maker and their logo. When they make leather sheaths, the sheaths are so tight that you can barely put the knife in and barely take it out. You actually have to work the sheath, inserting the knife and removing it numerous times, and then after a while just leaving the knife in the leather sheath for it to form over it to actually make it easier to remove the knife. Now, if this was a brand new knife, I wouldn't be able to do this. Now you see how easily that came out. Now, that's the first lie, Mr. Warren. I trust there won't be others. I must admit, this is a very nice quality leather sheath. But the problem is, like I said, the logo of the company that makes leather sheaths for their knives, those sheaths are so tight. If this was a brand new knife that you had just bought, I never would have been able to remove the knife that easily. Now, Mr. Warren, I don't appreciate being lied to. Most people don't. But as a police investigator, that makes me rather suspicious of your intentions. I'll wait for you. Still waiting, Mr. Warren. That's all right, sir. You take your time. All right, Mr. Warren. Apparently you can't seem to come up with a convincing story. I want to ask you about what I found inside this sheath. Well, yes, sir. It was rather obvious. I mean, quite frankly, you should see the other side of that blade that we pulled out. There was traces of blood in there, and we found a lot more inside the sheath. Yeah, right there, Mr. Warren. That dark discoloration. Now that's blood. Oh, you say that's oil? I don't think so, Mr. Warren. Now I can have this sheath tested just as easily as I could have had the contents of that baggie tested. Now, Mr. Warren, Mr. Warren, Mr. Warren, Mr. Warren, Mr. Warren, you need to start being honest with me. Because that dark stain right there, that's blood. Now, do you want to be honest with me? Well, here's the thing, Mr. Warren. I did a little bit of research. It seems that your wife has been having relations with a man who is not you. Apparently, relations with a man who happens to be a well-known biker and, quite frankly, a well-known scumbag in the area. Mr. Warren, Mr. Warren, Mr. Warren, Mr. Warren. Now we both know that's a lie. Your wife is not on vacation. Where is she, Mr. Warren? Oh, she's with her sister. Yes, well, I have to admit, that is the first truthful thing you've told me this entire time. Oh yes, I made sure to verify that, Mr. Warren. I made sure to verify it indeed. Now here's the problem. A certain scumbag biker in our county has been missing for the last 3 days. No, that's all right, Mr. Warren. If that's the story you want to tell me, that's all right. You go on. Don't mind me, Mr. Warren. Oh, what am I reaching for in this bag? Well, it's a little something called evidence. Mr. Warren, this folded up leather vest is something we found in the trunk of your car. Now, I do like leather. Yes, sir, I do like leather. Oh, not like that, Mr. Warren. No. I'm a family man, a church-going man. No, not like that. Not like that at all. Would you like to tell me about this leather vest? Yeah, that does feel nice. Go on, Mr. Warren, I'm listening. Go on. Go on. Go on. Go on. All right. I think we've played this game long enough, Mr. Warren. Now, I just ended up fondling another man's leather vest. If this had been your vest, you would have gotten very angry long before this point. You didn't. This is not your vest, and I know this is not your vest because there is no way this vest would fit a skinny man such as yourself. Way too big. However, this vest is about the right size for our missing lowlife biker. Now, Mr. Warren, I have to say that when we checked the inside of the vest, yeah, we found some blood spatter. Now, I'm guessing that it's the same blood type that was on the inside of that leather sheath. I'm guessing you owned that knife for a good long time and you used it to show the man sleeping with your wife what you thought of that, Mr. Warren. That's what I think. Also, Mr. Warren, that particular biker, he wore a particular vest with a particular patch and rockers on the back of it. Do I need to flip this vest over and show you? No, I do not, Mr. Warren. No, I do not. Mr. Warren, you made a serious mistake. We do have a handful of biker gangs in this county, just a handful. I'd say just over half of them are harmless, just guys who like to ride, like to wear leather. But there is one particular gang that claims this entire state. They're not well known outside of this state, but they do claim this entire state, and they have chapters up and down this entire state, Mr. Warren. And I believe that you killed one of their members. They will stop at nothing to come after you, Mr. Warren. Now you need to start being a lot more honest with me. Your best bet is jail. Getting locked up. Now this state does not have the death penalty, but I guarantee you, Mr. Warren, I guarantee you, this particular motorcycle club, as they like to call themselves, by the time they're done with you, Mr. Warren, you're gonna wish you were sitting in an electric chair instead. So, we're gonna end this. I'm gonna bring out some paperwork. You're gonna write down your confession, Mr. Warren. And then we're gonna process you. Well, we're gonna begin the process. You will most likely end up in prison for the rest of your days, Mr. Warren. But at least you'll be alive. Because I guarantee you, if I let you leave this police station, I would not be doing you any favors, sir. No favors at all. They will find you, and what they do to you, I would not trade places with you for literally all the money in the world, Mr. Warren. What you did, well, it's good to know that your wife is still alive. But what you did, oh, Mr. Warren, you done messed up real good. Let's get that paperwork out of the way, shall we?